CPR, that the chances of he surviving is better. So that's how what we say, if not treated fast, cardiac arrest is very likely to be fatal. Very few patients can spontaneously become alright. They have a cardiac arrest, they have something called VT and where the heart rate becomes 600, 700. Somehow it suddenly becomes normal. I recently had a patient who had a syncope and became normal. It is very, very rare. And that kind of the second chances are not very common. So, early recognition, time and the bystander, these are three things actually matters a lot. Now, why early CPR or early BLS? Yak bega madabeku? Because it is the protection of the brain, not the heart alone. Okay, when there is a stoppage of blood, the heart doesn't function. There is always complete stoppage of blood. The brain doesn't receive blood. And brain cells will die within few seconds of stoppage of blood, a few minutes of stoppage of blood. Whereas kidneys, for that matter, heart also, even if you restart the heart after 1 hour, it can work sometimes. When in a bypass patient, we stop the heart and we restart the heart later. Kidneys, lungs, every organ can function after even 10 minutes of stoppage. But brain, after a few minutes, it will be irreversibly damaged. Even if you revive the patient, you 5 ನಿಮಿಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ CPR ಮಾಡಿ ರಿವೈವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು 5-10 ನಿಮಿಷ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ, he will be alive, but his brain, he probably will end up in permanent coma. It has happened many times, By the time they get to the hospital, we will start a CPR, we will do a CPR, we will serve the patient, but is likely to be non-functional. Our brain will be permanently damaged. So when I talk about early CPR, it's the brain which matters. The brain is what we are worried about. Other organs actually can, regain its power, but brain will never regain its power. So the first few minutes are very important. So as I said, early recognition, good CPR and BLS, AED, which Dr. Ram will be speaking, and most important is once you have a cardiac or running or gym or something, it can occur any time. A person sitting in office, working, he can have a cardiac arrest. Okay? A person happily singing without any stress, in fact it's a much more enjoyable condition, can also have a cardiac arrest. So it is not that it is going to occur only on certain activity. So it can occur anytime. It can occur on sleeping, it can occur. People die because of cardiac arrest. In the US is around 500 people in a million in a year they die. But if you see people who are doing sports or high intensity activity, it's around 20 per million. That is much lesser than a normal population. It is not that people only do die about when you are doing physical activity. But only thing is that a lot more, importance or a lot more focus goes on that. But a lot of people die every day, cardiac arrest, even on sitting, sleeping, lying down, etc. But especially when an athlete who is well trained to do an exercise, when you do a studies on them, the chances of cardiac arrest are maybe around 5 per million. So when you train your body, when the incidences of sudden cardiac death or sudden cardiac arrest are much, much lesser. So it's not only limited to a physical exercise as everybody portrays. It can occur in any activity, it can occur anywhere. So it's not that it's going to occur in gym or it's going to occur in a play field, it's going to occur in a soccer field or something like that. It can occur in hospital, it can occur at home, it can occur anywhere. So but exertion definitely increases the risk. But it doesn't mean that you stop exerting. You will have to have a physical exertion or emotional exertion every day of your life. Okay. Now, what I'm talking about an early CPR, these are the two perfect examples of one. I'll just give you two examples. This Vivian Foe is a Cameroonian player which happened in Confederation Cup in 1995, I believe. In a soccer field, he had a cardiac arrest. There were a number of people around. They failed to recognize it actually. They thought initially it was probably some exertion or he was just tired or something. So they took him out of the field. So the first step was recognition was a problem. They took him out of the field. So There was no CPR. Okay. The worst part is they continued to play after that. So the recognition was, I mean, they did not identify it as a cardiac arrest, and they just continued to play. And then he was shifted to another hospital, and then they realized it was a cardiac arrest. The same which happened last year, Eriksson from Sweden during the Euro Cup. He had a cardiac arrest. The first responder was his captain. He recognized immediately it was a cardiac arrest. He started putting him into, he called for help. He started doing the CPR on him soon. And the medical people came and they didn't even shift him out of the ground. They started the CPR there itself. So what Vivian Fo's incident changed a lot of things in football. So finally, there was recognition problem, there was a delay, there was no CPR, and there was a continued to play. And in this patient, there was the captain recognized it immediately. He called for help. They stopped the play. They continued the CPR at the place. They didn't even bother shifting him out of the ground. That was the response. Finally, what happened? Eriksson survived. Vivian Flo died. So this is the importance of early recognition and starting the CPR immediately, not to wait for a medical person. Okay. So remember, these are final points. Cardiac failure and heart attack and cardiac arrest are different entities. Early recognition is the key, and a bystander or a first responder is the key playing and had a cardiac arrest. You know who did CPR to him? His principal and vice principal did a CPR immediately to him. They did CPR for almost 15-20 minutes. And then the medical team came and took him, and the boy had some congenital heart problem in survival. He was not even playing, he was just walking around. When did he learn the CPR? A day before this incident happened. Okay, so BLS is a very, very important life skill, like swimming or whatever it is. So I think every person should know CPR. That is the best chances. You don't know who will have what at what time. It may be your own family members or your friend or your foe or anybody. When you witness something, you are the best chance of their survival, or they are the best chance of your survival. Thank you.
Expansion of BLS.
Dr. Ram will speak in detail about BLS. Basically, it's support.
I'm the consultant in the ICU here from the inception of this hospital. Okay. First of all, I would like to begin this session saying a big thank you to all of you for coming here, because you're going to save lives. Okay? You're going to save lives. Thanks for that. You're going to know how to save lives now. Okay? A big thanks to all of you. Thanks to Dr. Chaitanya, Dr. Bhuwana and team for giving us an opportunity to spread our knowledge to help people save lives. Okay? So let's start off with this. Basic life support. In other words, in medical terminology, we call it as cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR. You must have heard this terminology a lot, CPR. So let's learn as to what is CPR. Why do we need to know the CPR is more important before we learn what is CPR? What is the burden of the disease? This is a small study which is presented in a journal. If you can look at the number of out of hospital cardiac arrest, OHCAs, out of hospital cardiac arrest, people who have cardiac arrest outside the hospital. In Asia, look at the numbers. Very, very, it's almost like 100 times more than that.
I believe they are not
Collar bone ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪ್ಯಾಡ್ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು ಈ ನಿಪ್ಪಲ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಓಕೆ ಹಾಕಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅದು ರಿದಮ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅವಾಗ ನಾವು ಕಂಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಓಕೆ ಅದು ರಿದಮ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಶಾಕ್ ಬೇಕಾ ಬೇಡವಾ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಶಾಕ್ ಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಶಾಕ್ ಬಟನ್ ಲೈಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನ ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಶಾಕ್ ಡೆಲಿವರ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನೀವು ಮತ್ತೆ CPR ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಓಕೆ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ CPR ಓಕೆ ಮತ್ತೆ CPR ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಓಕೆ
for his breathing.
Real life scenario, patient would have fallen down on CPR.
If he's not breathing,
Good. Not so
Count,
deep.
count.
Okay. Little bit. Count loud.
7, 8, 10.
If you hear the clicks, he's doing the right amount of CPR pressure.
Sir, if he survives, sir, and if we break the 3 to 4 ribs, if we break the ribs,
No problem.
Then I give him 2 breaths.
2 breaths. Yes. After 2 breaths,
After 2 breaths, I'll again perform 30
compression cycles. You will do 5 times like this.
5 cycles.
And then again check for
sir, if
the
he, after 5 cycles, if he not get a
continue.
continue till he get a
Yeah. Either till the person wakes up.
Okay.
Or if any ambulance comes, or if you are exhausted, you feel no, you will become a patient, you will have to continue CPR. Saving lives is not easy. It's a very difficult process. Witnessed cardiac arrest. I see somebody falling in front of me, and if I have an AED, 35% chance of survival is there.
Sir, if someone is already fallen, it's like 10 minutes over, then if you are giving, it's not useful.
It is useful.
Okay.
Chance of survival is lesser. Okay, but you will have to do.
until the hands come.
Humanitarian basis, I will do. I don't know whether he's fallen 1 hour before or 10 seconds before. I don't know. I assume that he's fallen 10 seconds before and I will do CPR. Okay? Good. Next.
ಯಾರೇ ಆಗಲಿ ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಅನ್ಕಾನ್ಸಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದ ಇವಾಗ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಕ್ ಪೇಯ್ನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅವಾಗ CPR ಕೊಡೋದಲ್ಲ ಮಾತಾಡೋ ಬೇಡ ಅನ್ಕಾನ್ಶಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅನ್ಕಾನ್ಶಿಯಸ್ ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು ಪಲ್ಸ್ ಯಾವ ಥರ ಇದೆ ಪಲ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ
CPR ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಮೊದಲು ನಾನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡು